Okay, folks, we've got our small gear in. As you can see, we've got it in there, and that was it was a Browning gear, and I bought that off of eBay. It's just a new old stock gear that somebody had, and it just happened to be what I needed, so I bought it. And it's half-inch bore, but it's boreable. We can take it out to anything we want to. Well, limited of the OD, but we can bore it and we can set screw it, and we'll actually cut a key in it with a broach. And anyway, I got my other gear for the cam, or the other cam itself. Now one of them is off of an FH brace and strap, and the other one's off an FI, and I thought they were the same, so I went ahead and bought it, and I was right. They are exactly the same. And I checked the lift on it. One of them's got a little bit more wear than the other one, about 5 thousandths, but not a problem. We can live with it. The base circles are a little bit different, and just by a couple thousandths, but that's probably because different years, or they may have not been real consistent on building that stuff. I mean, it wasn't real important, I don't believe, on what they were doing, but we can do some grinding on these to raise the lift. What you do, you don't weld up to raise the lift. You take off your base circle. So we would be removing material all the way around. That way when you adjust your valve, you'd adjust it here, and then this makes, when it comes around, it'll just open that much farther. However much you take off here is how much more it'll open there. And pretty simple. Duration is the distance or the length of time that your valve's held open. And we'll get a little bit more into this when we get closer to that. I've got the cylinder just sitting there, and I've got the push rods on it. I wanted to see, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to drive these, whether I wanted to drive, one. Let me move this push rod and I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is just an old piece of a push rod. I used a part of it, but we can drive them both off this gear just like I've got it, or we can raise this up and move over and leave our gap here and drive off this gear. Driving from here to there, that's 2 to 1. Driving from here to here would be 1 to 1, or we can be on 2 to 1 and then go down here, and this one will be running 2 to 1, which is the same speed as that one. So we're gonna have the same speed no matter what. Different rotation, but rotation again does not matter. Not on that. All we want to do is get it in time. And it wouldn't matter if it was on something besides this. And the reason I say that, your distance, your ramp of your lifter opening may be different on a newer cam on a car or something like that, but on this it's not going to be. They didn't get that technical back then, and and again, we can change some of that if we need to, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and run them apart like this, run them both off of it, run our push rods, like I said, at an angle, and it's not going to be enough that it's really going to matter that much. Now this is going to be about a little over 1 inch lower when we're done, and we've got to build our piece up. I finally got a scroll saw, sorta. I've got one, and the motor would not run on it, so I have done some rigging on it to make it work. I'll show you that in just a few minutes, but yeah, it's going to work for what we need. But I mean, it's kind of, you'll see what I'm talking about when I show you. But it's definitely not OSHA approved. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to do us a pattern, and we're going to build this up as a wall. And probably if we do it like this, our wall probably about 3/8 thick. We'll raise it all the way around, and I'm not going to I don't think I'm going to get my height out of one, so I'm going to have to cut 2 out, glue it all up, and then I can machine the top off, to the height I want. Now, when we're done with that, we'll be ready to work this and get it ready to cast. We're going to build a cover that goes over this, and I'll probably do it and make it with possibly a seal setup, so the crankshaft sticks out, and then my lobe will be on it, and then I'll run my points on the outside of that cover. But what we got to do, we've got to put these in with a 1/2-inch pin. And as far as I know, I'm just going to use a hard 1/2-inch pin. I'm not going to bush them, I don't think. They wasn't bushed originally. And but the way that I'm going to do this is I will, once it's casted and everything's ready, I'll set these up where they need to be basically, and you know, do all the measurements, and or do the measurements on the gears so I can get my hole set up where it needs to be. And then I'll set this case up on the milling machine, and I can bore this hole, and then after that I'll bolt my cover on, because we'll go ahead and get the holes drilled and get the cover where to bolt on. I'll put my cover on, and then with the setup just like it is, and then I'll bore it from the outside and bore a hole through the cover. Now the cover, I'm going to have bump outs and have it thick enough that the pin has plenty of room, and then we'll probably either pipe thread the outside hole on the cover and put maybe brass pipe plugs in it to keep it, you know, our pin from walking out, or we can make some plugs and just press them in. But that's going to be how we're going to get our alignment on our pin, you know, to be the same as the cover. And you know, there's little things like that make it easier. That way, you know, you can do it quicker and easier. But I'm going to go ahead and get the scroll saw set up, and go ahead and get us a pattern here, and we'll go ahead and start working with it. I think I'm going to sand a little bit down here. I got a couple little bumps here, but what I've done, you know, this is the same radius as the center hole. This is the same radius as the center of this, and the top side is still the same radius as the center hole. So we've got a little transition right here on each one, and I may smooth that off a little bit, and then, you know, we'll use whatever's here to make the pattern so it fits right. So, all right, we'll get at it. Okay, folks, here's the scroll saw, and I don't know if you can see it. It's a 16-inch Craftsman, I think, Sears. Anyway, the problem is this thing had been sitting for about 20 years, and we couldn't get it to run. And it would act like it wanted to run, then it wouldn't, and work with it for hours, and just finally gave up on it. So what I done, I tried to run the motor direct. I tried to run the motor off of a variable speed switch. Wouldn't run, and I don't know why. You know, I'm sure there's some reason that they've got to run through the electronics on these things, but you know, I'm not an electrician, so I don't know. But here's what I ended up doing. The shaft stuck out just a little tiny bit, and I went ahead and welded a 5/16 nut on it, and which of course is a 1/2 inch, takes a 1/2 inch wrench, and then I just chucked this drill on it, and I've got a very temporary setup here. Matter of fact, I've got a box I'm going to put this in, so before everybody starts yelling at me. But because of course the wires or the terminals are open on it. But what I've done, I wanted to make sure this was going to work, but I've just got it wired through this switch, which is a variable speed switch, and then through my plug. And I don't know what that switch will hold, you know, amp wise. You know, if it gets hot, I mean, if it starts a fire, I like hot dogs. So anyway, we're here on the concrete, so we're good. But anyway, I'm going to turn it on here. It'll sit there and run pretty good. And I can speed it up. Or slow it down. Slow it down to almost nothing. And these old gear reduction drills are a little bit too slow, huh? These old gear reduction drills are strong as can be. So this is this drill here. Years back, I had actually put a ground wire on it because, you know, these things love to shock you. These old metal ones when you just got 2 wires on them. So this is just an old Sioux. I just took a zip tie and tied the trigger back, so we're ready to finish up our little intricate work here. And I called around to all the local pawn shops, and nobody actually had a scroll saw, and so I didn't want to order one, and I didn't want to go buy one at Lowe's because, you know, $199 or something. And you know, this is something that I don't even know if I'm going to use it more than just with this build. I mean, if I do another one, I may use it, but I didn't want to invest money in something that was not going to get used at all. And but anyway, this will work this will get us through it, and you know, just do what you got to do to make things happen. The main thing, don't make excuses. I mean, you know, just make it work. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get on it and see if we can get our other piece cut out. Okay, we've got our paper marked out here, and all I did was lay it on here, and when your hand's a little dirty, you can just rub it and bring the line right in there. So we'll cut that out, and then we'll figure out where we want it cut inside, and then that'll be our pattern. Okay folks, here's about what we got. I've just got the gears sitting in there, but this is basically what we're going to do. This is, like I say, going to be a wall, and it's going to be, I guess, 3/4 inches tall, whatever this wood is. We'll go ahead and get it cut out, and then we may have to cut another one out and put on top of it. But this solid up here is actually going to be for the lifter guides, and or the actual lifters, I guess. But the lifter guides will go in here. They'll go in from the top. They have to be long, and they'll come down and rest on top of the lobes, and of course, as it turns, it'll raise them and lower them, and then the push rods will go in from the top of it, you know, up here. And then there'll be balls on the ends of the rods. A lot of them are like that, and you know, we'll make the rods out of something, probably an old set of solid rods out of a tractor. But and you know, this is just, you know, hand drawn and cut out. You know, this is not production work. It's, you know, handmade, and you know, we don't want it to look machine made anyway, so it really don't matter. So we're going to check out that that scroll saw and see if it'll cut through this. All right. Okay, we're getting it. I cut it out with that. Yeah, I mean, it ain't nothing great, but I mean, it'll work. I kind of got scared of my lines there and stayed too far away from them, so now I got to do some sanding and stuff to get it right. And also, this has got to be angled in here, so all it has to be sanded anyway. But you can see what we're doing, what it's going to look like. Let me see. See, we don't have. We've only got, and we got to include shrinkage too, but we don't have much room between there. And I mean, it could possibly work out, but we could also put ourselves in a bind there, and we could build a cover and machine the inside of the cover out some, or we could actually, I'd have to check the bearing thickness. I think we could actually mill some on the inside of this cover too, and bring everything in that way to make more clearance. So, you know, I'm sitting here trying to talk myself out of adding another one to it, and it may be the way to go, and it may not be the way to go. I don't know. I'll decide one way or the other. But either way, I would have to come up here somehow. We still got to be able to put our cover on, but we need to come up here somehow. So I probably will bring it up, because if I came up with humps, you know, for my lifters to go through, because that's not enough room for the lifters. And if I come up with the hump to go over the, you know, for the lifters, then we wouldn't be able to put our cover on good. So I think I'll make that just a little wider. I'll go ahead and cut another one out. We can always glue it all up, and then I can take it on the milling machine and go ahead and, you know, take some of it off. It's not a big deal. But I want to make sure we do it, you know, do it right, and do it where we've got enough room. But that's what I was talking about, thinking ahead. You know, if I hadn't noticed, hey, there's not enough room for the lifters, and then we'd have got it all done, we'd have been in a bind. So you can't miss anything when it comes to this stuff. And if you do, you've just made it hard on yourself. And we only want to do this once. And the only thing I'm really dreading a lot is a lot of the sanding. And my wife likes to sand, so I may give her one side of it, and I'll work on the other side of it. And we've done restored a bunch of guns, and she would do all the stock work on them, and I'd re-blow them, and you know, do it at any of the gunsmithing need done. So she likes to do woodwork, and she's really good at it when it comes to sanding and stuff like that. So anyway, work on this a little bit, maybe with the drum on, bring it down some smaller. I need a big drum sander, it'd be nice, but I'm not going to invest in a bunch of woodworking tools just to do this one pattern. And anyway, all right, let me get back at it. Okay, I think we're going to stop this one here, and we'll get back on it and show you more on the next one. Bye.